Hi everyone, welcome to LWA podcast. I'm Haydee.
I'm Karla.
Would you like to introduce yourself, Karla?
So I'm a college student at CUNY, and I'm an intern for Latin Women in Action.
Nice. Well, I'm Haydee again, and I am a part-time worker. One of Miss Zambrana's, Haydee Zambrana's associates, and I just help around with, paperwork and also volunteer to do podcast. So I'm really excited. This is my first episode.
Mine too.
Yeah? Okay. This is great. So the topic for this week's podcast is Gen Z political action and involvement. And, I'm a Gen Z. You're also a Gen Z, correct?
Yeah.
What is something
There's
that bothers
so
you?
much to talk about there.
There is. Now, has there been something that's been like bothering you, or something that is just like, wow, that's been happening in the news? Like whether you see it on TikTok, like I usually get my news feed from either TikTok or Instagram and stuff like that.
Same.
I guess because like our generation is so heavily involved on these things. Where we're just so involved and our noses are, but it's so convenient because of the fact that it's quick, easy. So has there been anything that stand out to you?
I mean, there's a lot going on the news at the moment, but just something to discuss beforehand. I just wanted to bring up how Gen Z gets their information, like you mentioned, through our phones. We don't tend to get our information from the news. And I feel like in a way that's a good thing, because some of the information that's thrown in the news and whatnot sometimes doesn't really, like, it just fits certain narratives, and it's
and I get what you're saying. Like I definitely, I feel like I'm Latina. We're both Latina.
It's biased.
Girls.
Yeah.
So it's like so dramatic, or like they come up with these crazy stories.
And it's just one point of view versus
Exactly.
where we get our info from. It's like straight facts. It's what's coming from the source itself.
Yeah. And not only that, but I feel like nowadays too, I guess the cool part about it is that now these news outlets are coming out with their platforms, and I mean their social medias within these platforms. Like I know that NBC, I think the morning show, I'm not sure about New York. There's so many different social media
even
pages,
like political parties. It's a good thing to mention that they also have their own.
Yeah, that way
socials.
we can be informed of like what is going on, who are our candidates, and
to target to target certain viewers that
especially
aren't being targeted on the news.
Yeah, and the fact that we're Gen Zs and we're heavily, I feel like now there is a statistic that states that Gen Zs are heavily involved in like more so like politics and like law review and just being informed and also stating what needs to be said, because nowadays we have issues like housing, we have healthcare issues. There's so many issues there's so many issues, but yet our country hasn't really stepped or put a foot towards a positive outcome, and we're still waiting for so many things to happen. And sometimes, like, unfortunately, like what's happening between Palestine and Israel, we're so quick to involve ourselves or involve our money that we so-called don't have to pay college debt or healthcare, and housing and food. But we're so quick to send billions of dollars to support genocide. So that's what kind of frustrates me. So how do you feel?
Yeah, that also frustrates me. And like you mentioned, healthcare. I think there was this thing that was going around that Israel gets free healthcare or something from the U.S. So I don't know. I just thought that was something to mention, because we, like you said, we have so many problems here, and none of them are being addressed at all. But it's so quick to be like, okay, let's go and support Israel. Let's send our money. Let's send our troops and stuff. But
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
why?
Yeah.
Why is that? Like, why
Yeah.
are we so quick to support what's going on?
Yeah. No,
When
it's
for the
true.
most part the US has never been so like quick to say, I'm going to support this. We tend to stay like in the middle. We don't really say anything.
Or
We
just,
don't support. We
yeah.
don't.
I feel like it's more so the fact of like, also we don't take initiative of the problems that we have already in our country. And you
Gun
know, we're
control.
yeah, gun control, you know, education, especially education is not, you see
Giving
many
free
teachers,
education for
are going out of pocket to, you know, provide supplies, provide clothes. Like, you know, there's many kids that aren't privileged and go to school, either they're not hungry, I mean they're not fed and they're hungry, or you know, they don't have great hygiene, books, like, you know, all of these things add up.
And that's
And
another thing to mention, that we've gotten that information through social media. I don't know about you, but I've seen teachers posting, "Hey, look, I got these supplies."
receipts.
And I'm
Yeah.
not getting paid for that. And as a kid, I never thought that that's how it was. And now I understand why they would ask us, "Hey, bring these supplies, bring
Yeah.
this." You
Yeah,
know,
I had a friend on Instagram who actually, she's a teacher, she's a music teacher, um, and she had like a registry type of thing, and she was asking for support and help, like, hey, can anybody donate these supplies, because you know the school isn't, our government isn't gonna help
yeah,
them. There's no
they're not being
funding.
funded at all.
So you
And
know,
even as a kid, I remember my mom would be like, "Why are we like buying all these
stuff.
things
Why are we
for?"
buying? Yeah,
And it's like it's gonna be used by like others, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's, now I get it,
Yeah.
because they're just not getting any money.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the problems we're having here. And it's like you don't realize it because it's not being, nothing is being said about it on the news.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they don't acknowledge it.
Mm-hmm. I feel like they do, but they don't. You know, there's nothing happening. It's just
It's
like, oh
not
well,
as
we
serious.
just have this issue of teachers, you know, paying for their supplies for their kids, and that's it. Or especially like coming from my point of view, you know, I'm a mom, and before I started working here, I was a stay-at-home mom for about 15 months. And it's not easy nowadays, like, you know, living in America, inflation, it's very pricey. You live in New York
It's
City, and a
expensive.
lot of things are expensive. Living here, the cost of living here doesn't even make sense with how much you get paid at times to just constantly pay bills like every month.
Yeah.
And it's just like groceries are expensive.
Rent is
everything
expensive. Houses have gone up. People are
Clothing.
overbidding for houses.
Yeah.
And it's just not being acknowledged. There's no raise in the minimum
Yeah.
wage. There's nothing.
And you look at these issues of how, like, then again, I mentioned of how the U.S. is always saying, well, we don't have money, or we don't have money, or we don't know how to do this. We don't know how to support college, you know, students that are in college that are in debt, or like, you know, people who have graduated college, and help and support them. Like what is it? The college debt relief, I believe. I'm sorry if I probably messed it up, but yeah, situations like that, like Biden has mentioned of, like, you know, trying to help, and maybe there has been a little bit of help, but that doesn't cover the amount of like students that are in debt, or the amount of people that are homeless, amount of people who aren't getting the proper help. And it's frustrating.
And didn't he
And
say
now,
he was going to pay off the loans, and then he said he
Didn't-
wasn't, and then
yeah.
who even knows at
And
this
I feel like
point?
we can actually discuss that at another time too, and that would also be like a great conversation. But something that like really bothers me is the fact of how our country is so quick. Like I mentioned, our country is so quick to attack or support a genocide that's going on in Gaza, and it's sick, because as a mother, you know, Gaza is predominantly children, babies. And you know, I'm a mom, and it hurts me every day to see how, you know, people, we need to see these types of things. I don't want to see it, but I see it as a way of like, wow, we tend to at times we tend to take things for granted,
because we don't
and
see that.
we don't see that in our day. Our
We
usual
have
day,
these problems, but we don't have to the extreme where we're seeing
exactly,
bodies in the streets.
I get to tuck my daughter
Buildings.
in safely. I get to have, like, I'm in a safe pregnancy. I don't have to worry about my child, having a premature birth, and worrying about the hospital being bombed,
Worried
literally,
about food,
electricity going out, that my
water.
baby, water that's being controlled by the Israeli government, because they control that, and they say, well, and the audacity that people in Israel have to say of, well, at least we give them electricity, at least we give them water, at least, and it's just like,
but it's
they're
a basic
humans.
human need. If that's what we
They're
need in
humans.
as a society to survive nowadays, electricity and all these things that are important to us, they should be entitled to it. It should
exactly. So why is it that, like, people
why
are
are they
starving?
why are
Palestinians
they limiting
starving.
these resources to them? I just
It's such a hard topic to, like, I don't know, it's discussed, because it's like there's so much to it, and unfortunately there's many people dying from starvation, being bombed, and it's just like,
and we don't
we're
have
so
to
worry about that. We don't.
The worst thing you have to worry about is some noise out in the street, but these kids probably aren't sleeping. They're probably sleep deprived from the noises, from what's going on, from being scared to go to sleep.
Like, what killed me the most was another, what was it? I think it was a couple of days ago that I had seen a post on Instagram of, children in America, what they wish for. And it's like, well, I want billions of dollars. I want this. And, like, it's not their fault. It's just, like, the mindset of, these kids. Because the way we're growing up, we're constantly thinking about money, 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 money. However, children in Palestine are, like, right now, they're currently, man, I hope to see my mom again. Like, it's like a tear. Like, it makes you very emotional, because it's like, wow, like, these kids are losing their parents, their families, or they're dying, or they're starving, and it's just like, wow. And it's unfortunate and horrible and disgusting, and the fact that, like, our country or many people are still supporting this and not opening their eyes of, like, what's really going on. Like, this is a problem. This is a huge one, like, for lack of term. And something has to be done. Because how can it be that still there's, here, I'm gonna use, I have this on my phone. I took a screenshot. 11,180 people were killed in Gaza from October 7th to November 10th. Imagine that. 11,180 people.
And for what reason?
Yeah.
We know that their main reason is to get rid of Hamas, to find their, the people who were kidnapped. But it just doesn't seem like that's the real reason why they're killing so many people and targeting hospitals, like you said, targeting homes and
killing
bombing
children.
them.
Children have nothing. Children are innocent. Children have nothing to do with this, and hospitals are constantly being, like, bombed. People are just, there's kids with no limbs, like, their arms are cut off.
I saw a video literally yesterday of someone picking up body parts that were shredded completely.
Mothers.
Not even, like, whole body. It was, like, just chunks of, like, just flesh.
Not only that, but I feel for the mothers that are struggling right now in Gaza, that have to hold their dead baby.
And just move on. And just move on because they have to move on or else.
Exactly. And it's just like, it takes that for us to really realize that there's a big issue. Like, a mother is holding their baby.
But what's worse, it's not that they're dying for different reasons. Like, something happened to them that they passed away, like from an illness or anything. They're just being killed.
They're killed. Being a genocide, literally a genocide is happening.
And just, Yeah, imagine the bodies that just haven't been found under all the rubble that's there. And
Yeah,
they
because
just, I
that's
saw a video of a
this.
dad trying to find his daughter and wife or whoever, his family, under the rubble, and it's just,
Yeah.
there's,
You can't find them. They're just stuck. And that's something that I wanted to mention too. Like, this is an estimate. This is an estimate of the
because we
amount of
have no
people.
idea.
We have no idea. There can be more. There can be 1,000 other more people dying, or I mean, or like dead, that are stuck. And it's just like,
And we have no idea.
yeah. Yeah,
And who's
and our
count-
taxes,
who's doing all these-
and look, our taxes is going towards this. Like, this is really, this bothers me to the extreme, because it's like, I do not
I just
condone
don't
this. I don't
understand why
condone.
he had to go and say we're supporting Israel.
Yeah, that's
What
America.
what does that get you?
And that's the thing. It's like, sometimes you can say, I'm not gonna deny, but sometimes we tend to be grateful. Like, you can, there was this post too that I had seen, that you can be grateful but also like feel some type of way about being an American or living in America, because it's just like, yeah, we have better outcomes and better living situations than people from our country, like our native country. However, we don't feel, or at least growing up, I didn't feel, like being what I thought or envisioned, being an American is like white, blonde hair, blue eyes, and living that Hollish that I was born in 2000. So it's just kind of growing up in that era, is just like seeing that in television, being super skinny, having Hollister, Abercrombie, and it's just like, wow, you really
That's
tend
the
to, you
American
feel the
life.
American life, the American dream.
The prop, yeah.
And it's just like, wow, like it's upsetting, the fact that, like, even at one point in my life, I just wanted to be white. I wanted to be white. I wanted to fit in, and I feel I'm super grateful now that our what do you call it, a generation in our society,
yeah.
and like Gen Zs are very outspoken. We're very outspoken. We like to be heard, and we're very inclusive now. And in the fact of, like, thank God, again, like Instagram and all these
because we would not be informed. We'd be getting our info, like I said, from the news.
Yeah,
who has like biased views, who won't share whatever we're seeing on TikTok and Instagram.
Yeah, or just like influencing. Like,
And that's another thing. It's, I wouldn't have known what was going on. I was clueless like about 3 weeks ago, and I started learning because, as a Gen Z, I'm one of those that just doesn't watch the news.
Mm-hmm.
I don't read newspapers. I don't keep up with articles and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
But most of my info I get from my phone.
Yeah, no. And you have a valid point, because at times I'm like that too. But it's just a matter of us constantly being up to date with these situations, or like news, even if it's on Instagram or TikTok. It's very important for us to know what is going on. That way we know how to change, or how to better, or choose like the right candidate, or how can we be politically involved the right way, or how can we become like great advocates,
And
for our
there's
country,
so many
or for
people
like
online.
our neighborhood too, because there's so many things that we may want for our neighborhood to have, and just better our society, better our country. And it's just like, there's so much that we can do, and I feel like us as Gen Zs, we have so much to do, and we have so much potential that I'm sure eventually
Just
the
look
future.
at how they've been protesting the issue with Palestine, and it's gotten a lot more like support because of the information that's being put out. Because
like,
people are
everything is
now
constantly
realizing, because it's been going on for a while, but not
and this
that
is not
many
just
people.
this is not just something now. This has been something for years, decades.
But the way with people coming together and uniting and feeling for the cause, and having just that feeling that, oh, I want to support this and I want to get behind this, and as Gen Zs, they can bring about change by doing so, by just uniting and
Yeah, and having something to say. And I feel like we can kind of end this of the fact, I know on my behalf, I would love to learn more. I'm not 100% like an encyclopedia, or just
Yeah.
very informed about the situation. You know,
Same
I
here.
want to read books. I would love to be informed a lot more about what is going on, and the root, and like how can I be a better advocate? How can I help these people? How can, and I'm sure you probably feel the same way. So I think we can just say that, we would love to
Always get more educated, not
of
just,
course,
even
yeah.
if we're getting the info from our phones, at least, do your own research.
Yeah,
And learn
research
more.
and learn,
And learn
read a
more.
book or learn
Because
more in general.
there's different sides, and
Yeah,
just learning.
yeah. There's so many things that we can. There's so many things that we can do, and knowledge is just key to also success, and just, being mindful of what's going on. So I think we've had a great discussion.
We talked a lot.
Yeah.
I felt a certain way. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a great conversation to have, and thank you so much. There were certain things that
So
you had
much
mentioned.
more you can talk
Yeah, so much more that we could talk about, and there were certain things that you had mentioned that I wasn't aware about. So thank you for also, like, having this great conversation, and
Yeah, and you can
this
learn
is something
from
that
each
needed.
other.
Yeah, and no, this is something that has to be spoken about. And it affects us, and it affects, like, what do we know as Gen Zs? How can we put our input, or how can we, share our information or ideas
With
to the
each
world
other.
with each other?
Yeah.
It's very, very important, and see how, we can be politically active, or just great advocates, So, yeah. Well,
It was a good conversation.
good conversation.
Yeah.
Well,
So thank you. We'll see you again for the next
yes.
episode.
Thank you, everyone. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.